All right, so I've made this observation, if you will, and I'm gonna say it right here. There is something so eerie about hearing a train in the dead of night. And it's crazy because during the day you hear a train and it's like, this is, it's mundane. It's what we use to get goods to people, places, that kind of thing, right? But what is it that is so eerie about hearing this train? I mean, it at night, because it just sounds so lonely and it's sort of echoing. And I say, now the reason I'm so specific on this is because we live not far from train tracks. I also say this because there are many a ghost train story, especially here in the South. I don't know what that's about. I guess because we have so many train tracks, railroad, that like it's inevitable that there's going to be a story. But I don't know, it's so creepy. And we're going to talk about one of those ghost stories today. This is related to a city not far from where I am right now. And it's 33 miles from Atlanta. So, yeah, I live way out there, y'all. But this is the story of the number 7 train, or number 7 engine. And this is out of McDonough, Georgia. So we're going to go back to the year 1900, June of that year. And this plays into it what I'm talking about, so just like bear with me. So it had been raining for 23 days straight in Georgia. And it was affecting everybody, especially the railroad. You know, it's slippery, it's wet. There have been a couple of washouts, and it is just, it's not good, right? But of course, you know, they got to keep on trucking. They got to keep rolling because this is how we get goods and people reliably to different cities. So the number 7 had pulled into McDonough, Georgia that evening. It was at night when this happened. And it was actually waiting on a train, another train, coming from Columbus, Georgia, which is not far, but far enough, right, from McDonough. So when that train got stalled due to a washed out bridge, the powers that be would tell the train engineer, J.T. Sullivan, who's the train engineer of the number 7, hey, you need to, excuse my French, haul ass for Atlanta. So he says, okay. Now the passengers on this train, when they're like, we gotta run to Georgia. I mean, I keep saying Georgia, run to Atlanta. They're like, yikes, because it's raining. They're worried about the weather and the conditions of the tracks and, all of that. And instead of comforting them and being like, nah, it's cool. This man said, I'm going to say allegedly, because one of his family members might be listening, and I'm not trying to disrespect your ancestor. But he says, we'll be dining in Atlanta or in hell. Why you would say that to a bunch of worried passengers? I don't know. Maybe it sounded clever at the time. And this is also one of the reasons why this train accident is said to be the Titanic of train accidents, because of quotes like that. It's giving, this ship is unsinkable. God himself cannot sink this ship. Really, bro? So anyways, this train, like I said, heads for Atlanta. So it heads north for Atlanta. Now, there had been a train previous to the number 7 it had left previously. And they said, oh, well, it was called the Fireball. It was a freighter. It cleared the most crucial part of this route, which is the train trestle crossing the or Camp Creek, which runs. It's outside of McDonough, but it's like part of the city. So, like I said, it had cleared the trestle. So JT Sullivan and his co-workers like, okay, we're good, right? So they decide to go ahead and haul ass for Atlanta. That's not what the Southern Railroaders who ran the number 7. They didn't say that. That's what I'm getting. That's what they said, right? That was what I'm guessing was the conversation, but not so crude. So anyways, the number 7, that is, they head towards Atlanta, and they're nearing the trestle. Now, it said that JT Sullivan did not see, or he saw too late, that the trestle had been washed out due to Camp Creek being swollen by the 23 days of rain that was falling on Georgia at that time, falling on the region. And as a result, the train would plunge, number 7 would plunge 60 feet from this trestle, this washed out trestle, into Camp Creek. On impact, the train burst into flames, the front of the train. Now, there was one car that survived the accident, and that was the Pullman car. There were 9 people in there. Those 9 people would survive. So upon this train crashing, there was a flagman called J.J. Quinlan. He is like, okay, I gotta go get help. And he was actually injured himself. So he climbs up the steep, it's like a ravine. He runs to McDonough, to the city. Gets people and is like, hey, there's been this horrible train accident. We need help. It's said that McDonough did not sleep that night because of this accident, and rightfully so, because they needed all hands on deck to come and help the survivors, help pull the dead from the very mangled train at this point. And so that's what they do. So they pulled 35 bodies from the train. Now, it's said that there were more bodies, but they were mangled or, unrecognizable due to it bursting the flames on impacts. But the bodies that they did pull from the wreckage, they took to McDonough. Now, the survivors were put up in a hotel called the Globe Hotel, but the dead were taken to the square and laid out there so that families could come and claim their loved ones. And this is where the ghost stories start. This is the genesis of these ghost stories, right? Coming out of McDonough. So this is where it gets creepy. Like, this whole story, for some reason, for me, just, maybe it's because it's so close to where I live, it just, it gives me the ick. But they said that a lot of the bodies too were so mangled that they could only be recognized by, say, a pocket watch, so what they had on them, which is equally terrifying. I mean, that is terrifying, just not on a paranormal level, but just on, imagine you're waiting for your loved one in Atlanta, and you find out about them being in this horrible train accident, and you find out even worse, they're dead, and now you have to go and find their body by what they were carrying. So like that's just a human like on a terrifying, like basic visceral level, right? That it's the fear of the unknown, pretty much. But they do give those people proper burials, thanks to two of the homes, the funeral homes that were in town, and those were B.B. Carmichael or A.F. Bunn and Company. So these were the two funeral homes that would prepare the bodies. So fast forward to today. I wouldn't even say today. I'd say probably after the tragedy. People start to report ghost stories, like ghostly encounters with these victims. So we'll start with the Globe Hotel. So Globe Hotel is now a business. Till this day, people report seeing a woman crying in the in what was the hotel, and they think that it was a victim from the train accident. Maybe she's still shocked or stunned at what happened, because I mean, I would imagine that would be like 1 minute you're on your way somewhere, next minute you're, crashed and injured, and you don't know for real what happened, right? But the creepiest one, I mean, the funeral home, that's another one. That one was a restaurant. It's the one that was B.B. Carmichael. They say that you will often see his ghost, B.B. Carmichael, Mr. Carmichael, preparing bodies. And he is specifically seen in the women's restroom when this was restaurant. And my assumption, and probably other people's assumption, is that this was the home, like the area where you prepared the bodies. So they see him in there. But the one that really gets me is the square. Partly because I pass the square all the time when we're either going shopping or going just cutting across to 75 South whenever we head to Florida. So this square has people say it has a vibe. It's a weird vibe. They say that when you walk onto the square, it's almost like the sound is muffled. It's giving like Victorian funerary vibes, like funerary practices, where people will put the hay out on the street, so to muffle the sound of horse hooves, and like it's supposed to be like deathly quiet. They report it being super cold, even on the hottest of days. And I don't mean like, shade tree cool. No, like it's 80 degrees and it didn't drop 20, like that kind of thing, right? People have seen ghosts walking around as though like they're lost. They don't know what happened, and it's always on that square. And this is all said to be related to the tragedy that befell number 7. And actually, you can see, I don't know if it's a replica, I don't know if it's the real thing, but you can still see the number 7 engine. They actually have it there. I think I'm trying to remember where it is, but you can still see it. So like, imagine being that thing has probably got some energy around that itself. But the creepiness don't end there. So people have seen or heard rather the train coming. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that scene in Ghostbusters 2 when they encounter that ghost train. They say that you will hear it and then you feel the gush of like a wind or a breeze coming from a train passing by. And it's always at the site of the trestle that spans Camp Creek. I don't like that because it makes me think of that scene again from Ghostbusters, which y'all, I am 36. I'll be 37 in July, and that scene still gets me. And then you got people experiencing that scene in real life over across the way in McDonough, to the east of me by like 20 minutes. I hate it. And so you've got a ghost train, you've got ghost people, and it's all affecting this town, right? But then on top of that, it's said that it's whispered that the number 7 was cursed. Yeah, the number 7 was cursed. So this train has been having issues. It's not like still exists, not still running. It had been having issues since the time it was built. So the number 7 started service in 1888, and it was built by the Southern Railway Company. Now, in that same year, there were a number of so there was one accident in Tennessee that killed 3 people on a farm wagon. Then there was another accident in, like, I think, was it in that same year? In 1897 in Tennessee again, and it killed a family of 3. Then somebody must have recognized that, hey, this train's problematic, so let's renumber it to number 851. So it goes from 836 to 851. So once they renamed it, they thought, oh, there's going to be no problems. But in 1898, it crashes into the Etowah River near Cartersville, Georgia. I'm calling this the Christine of trains because she is on one right over this short span of years. 1888, 1897, 1898, then 1900. What? So then there were the deaths of the different train engineers, so the workers. And hold on, let me go back to that 1900 incident. Most of the passengers on that train were Southern Railroad workers. What's going on? What is going on? So, the first engineer was a man by the name of John Ramsey. He would die from being scalded. So he was scalded to death. Then there was the second engineer, Abe Laird. Now this one I could take with a grain of salt. He died from typhoid. But I think it's kind of eerie because, again, he was an engineer on this train. Then, of course, we have the third engineer, J.T. Sullivan, who died in the Camp Creek disaster, as they came to call it. So it also, what's further terrifying is that the Camp Creek disaster mirrors the Etowah River disaster. So both involved a train trestle, and the train crashed into these waterways. So there you have it. A 2-for-1 deal. A ghost train and a cursed train. And both of the and we're talking about the same train. So and that's also why McDonough's haunted. It's haunted by the survivors and the dead, the victims collectively of this awful train disaster. And y'all, I was so skeeved out, I had to do this during the day. Is that not corny and crazy? Usually I can do stuff in the evening, but this one, I don't know why. I just couldn't do it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, because I don't know what's going on. I think the YouTube algorithm hates me. Maybe it's because I'm black. I don't know. But yeah, I really hope you like this story. Again, please like and subscribe. And on the next Paint It Haint, we're going to be talking about Auraria. So this isn't a ghost story. Auraria is a ghost town, but not like a town full of ghosts. It was a mining town up in North Georgia that I came across while me and my mom and my cousin were on our way to a winery, and I was like, I wonder what Auraria. So I wrote it down and researched it, and so we're going to talk about that as just a little primer before we go on to our next ghost story. So I will see you then. Please, again, like, comment. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next Paint It Haint. Enjoy your day, and thanks for watching. Bye.